Welcome to our Flywheel webinar this week on why some applications win. This week, we're going to be talking about some of the applications, the mobile apps that really lead the entire world of the App Store. Some of the leaders going through gamification, some of the tricks, tips, and actionable items that we have feedback-wise for you and for other people to use in your applications. We'll be going through a presentation, and at the end, you'll be able to ask any questions you have, and we'd be happy to answer those and provide any other information that helps you out. So as a quick introduction, I'm Eric. I run Flywheel Studio. We're the #1 mobile app agency on FlutterFlow. We've won Agency of the Year 2 years in a row now. And we've been building applications on FlutterFlow and in other products for the last 6 years now. So we've seen quite a few successful products and platforms come to light. And we're going to talk about how we take some of the interesting ideas from other leading applications and bring those into FlutterFlow so they're usable by everyone, including our clients and other people in the FlutterFlow community and ecosystem. To get started here, let's share a deck, and we're going to go through this piece by piece. The main topic today is why some apps win, okay? And it is directly acknowledging that in reality, every day, hundreds of applications land in the App Store. It's a brutal marketplace. It is difficult to gain traction. It's difficult to stand out from the pack. It's difficult to have an application that really engages users and gives them value for a long time. It is not difficult to build an application, and it's not difficult to put it in the App Store. For example, every day, 300 apps land in the App Store, but at the same time, only a very, very, very small portion of those make meaningful revenue and get meaningful usage. The apps we talked about today are some of those, but there are other examples, and I think that you'll see throughout this that some of the things that some of these apps do, other apps do in the App Store as well. The first thing we want to talk about is most apps lose 95% of their users in the first 30 days. It's a brutal statistic. It is probably more true than not, though. And the reason for this is that when you think about it, there's a very, very small portion of applications, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5%, that have incredible retention. Okay, very, very high retention, maybe as high as 60 or 70%. The vast majority of applications, though, will lose 99% of their users in that first 30 days. Okay, so the lesson and the takeaway here is, and this is well known in the mobile application spaces, the time to value and retention of users when they download the application is incredibly important. Okay, it cannot be overstated how important those first 30 days are to build the habit, to build the retention, to build the engagement, and to get the user to that time to value. 77% of active users abandon an app in the first 3 days of the install. Okay, so out of that 95% that you lose in the first 30 days, 77% will be gone in 3 days. Okay, that makes a lot of sense too, right? If somebody is not getting value from an application in the first 3 days, why are they coming back 10 days later, 20 days later? They're probably not. Okay. From the moment somebody downloads the application, it is time to value, TTV. That is one of our primary KPIs or growth markers that we're looking for. Okay. The other statistics really kind of point to the same thing, but at the end of the day, the median 90-day retention is 1.7%. That's very difficult for majority of apps to overcome, and it really makes it more difficult for you as a developer and as an application owner to have things like marketing work or growth work. If you are bringing in 100 users every day, but only 1.7, so let's call that a generous 2, are going to be there in 90 days, it is very difficult, depending on your cost of acquisition or your average LTV, it's very difficult to make the math work with a statistic like that. So the apps that win in this space, they aren't doing anything different than the apps that lose normally. Okay. What they're doing is they're doing things differently with that set of features. And that's what makes the biggest difference here. It's not that they have added more features. In fact, many of these applications have less features. But really, what is happening is they are using those features in a smarter way. Most applications build features and they expect a user to download the application and find value on their own. When you ask a user to download an application and find their own value, create their own world, use the app and put it into their own life, the drop off rate for that is naturally going to be very high. It makes a lot of sense. How are you going to encourage somebody to use an application when you're not helping them use that application? Okay. So most apps, here's a tool. Good luck finding out what to do with it. Apps that win say when you open the app, we are going to help you find value in this application every time. Okay. For example, when you open Duolingo after you haven't used the application for a long time, it immediately opens a lesson. It doesn't ask you what lesson you want to do. It doesn't show you a gamified dashboard. It doesn't try and show you points and things like that. It goes directly into the lesson saying, hey, this is probably what you're here for. Let's get you into this. Okay. Other apps do a great job by surfacing old material. For example, photo apps often will show albums or photos of the day or a new video that has been stitched together. Apple Photos does a great job of this. The 3 lessons that we're really going to talk about today and kind of give you a framework to work with. The first one is push notifications. Everyone probably knows this, not news, that mobile apps really drive value in usage through push notifications. But the best apps are really, really good at it, and they take it a step above what most people do. The second one is the home screen treaty. Okay. One of the things that we love to see in applications is either freemium or a paid strategy that makes sense for the application. And just adding freemium or just adding paid is not enough. You have to really think about how you're providing value in that exact framework. We're going to talk about Freeletics today a little bit to really talk about how Freeletics offers freemium, how a user can get value out of the application forever without paying. But if you want that extra level, if you are inclined to go to the next place in Freeletics is a workout application, in your workout routines, you will gladly pay for Freeletics. Okay. They've done a really smart job of differentiating free versus paid. The last one is the cadence question. This is a big part of our gamification framework that we work on in all of our applications. And it's really thinking about the frequency that you expect users to use your application. Applications live and die by habits. Okay. The habit of going in every day to study a language on Duolingo, the habit of following your workout schedule in that health or fitness application. But some apps don't operate on a daily schedule. And if you optimize for a daily schedule, then you will create a suboptimal user experience. We'll talk about that cadence and how to really decide what the right cadence is a little bit longer in this presentation. First, let's talk about Duolingo. Duolingo is one of my favorite application companies for a few reasons. One is it's a public company. It makes it quite rare in the mobile app space to have somebody who's public. And as they're public, they have to provide a lot of materials for investors. They have to have annual investor conferences where they share their roadmap, their vision for the product. They also share financials. So you can see what marketing spend is versus revenue, where they're driving users or growth. The second thing is they're an incredibly open company. Most people might not know this, but most tech companies are actually pretty open and honest about how they operate. For example, Uber has a developers blog. You can go to Uber and look at their developers blog. And on that blog, you can see content about how Uber runs their development team. It talks about frameworks they've developed, tools they're using, and lessons they've learned. Duolingo is the same. They have a product blog, a design blog. They also have a developers blog that shares insights into the more technical aspects of the application. For example, changing code bases or refactoring complex products that they have. On the other side, they share product insights about how they have engineered the product for engagement or how they handle gamification and lessons they've learned along the way. As an incredible place to start when you're really wondering, how do the great players do this? So Duolingo is one of my favorite apps for the push notifications and how they do that. First is timing. Okay. Most applications assume that they can send push notifications whenever they want or need to, and that is good enough. And in some cases, that is how it should work. For example, WhatsApp. If I send you a message on WhatsApp, you would expect to receive a push notification of that message. You probably would not expect to receive push notifications throughout the day if you have chosen to ignore that message, though, right? There are some user behaviors here for how users expect this. But Duolingo is using push notifications to build a daily habit. That daily habit really requires Duolingo to ensure you use the application every day. So the first thing they do is they look at when you typically open the app during the day, and they make sure that they're sending you push notifications around that window of time, saying, hey, are you going to come in and do your lesson? The idea is most of us live in a schedule. You wake up at a certain time, you go to work after that time, you're in your office and probably not doing Duolingo. And then after that, you might come home, maybe you sit on the couch, maybe you cook dinner. But throughout that, on a daily schedule, typically you have windows of time that are really good opportunities for you to complete Duolingo. And they're trying to identify that time without actually knowing what your real schedule is. So they build a window when you typically use the app. And then they just nudge you a little bit and say, hey, we think your window's coming up. Do you want to do a lesson? If you don't do it during that window, then they get really smart. And what they do is they really target you with guilt. Okay. Now, I go back and forth on this personally. Okay. For some applications, we would never recommend this. We don't recommend using dark patterns. Okay. On average, in our opinion, it comes back to bite you in the long haul. It is a quick game, it is not a long term game. On the flip side, guilt does work well in some scenarios. If I am the type of person who wants to learn a language and I'm using the application, Duolingo reminding me of my commitment I have made to myself and to the application might not be a bad thing. It might not even be a dark pattern, depending on how you want to look at it. As the day goes on, they use those messages to make sure you come back and complete your lesson for the day or whatever that goal is to really encourage you to keep your streak going. The second one is copy. Duolingo runs thousands, if not millions, of A/B tests across their platform. They're A/B testing everything almost all the time. And they have an engine internally that helps them take the results of those A/B tests and then roll those out to the wider audience. Every day they're working on, does this push notification work? Is this the right text, the right image, the right time? And they're always optimizing that to make sure that they get a great long-term user experience. Lastly is gamification. We'll talk a little bit about our gamification framework later, our cadence framework, but Duolingo uses streaks, right? If you have a 365-day streak and it's a new day, are you going to lose that streak over not showing up for 3 minutes to do your lesson? Probably not. I mean, you're involved, you're invested, you really care about this because you have already built so much. Why lose it today? Secondly, they have leagues, they have friend activities, they have rewards, they have badges, they have uh, all kinds of challenges and trials for you to participate in, and a million ways to earn points and do lessons. There's something for everyone almost at every single time. And that has really paid dividends for them as they've taken an application that is a language learning app, usually does not perform very well in the app stores. And they have made an incredible product and company out of that. One example of this that we really like is making sure that users are bought into the idea of the application. Okay. So here, what you're seeing is a daily goal. Why don't you come in and complete an exercise, right? Or complete a lesson. But one of the things Duolingo does incredibly smart in the beginning of the application is that users commit to using it. Duolingo says, do you want to commit to a 7-day streak, a 15-day streak, a 50-day streak? What do you want to commit to? And you, the user, pick. That's incredibly powerful because you're the one who's saying, okay, I want to do this, not the application saying you have to do this. And you're committing to saying, I want to be that type of person. So then the application saying, I'm going to help you get there. That way, when you get that push notification about completing your lesson, it is tied to the goal you have already committed to, and they can remind you of that. Let's talk about Freeletics for a minute. Freeletics is one of my favorite fitness apps. A lot of apps do this really, really well in this space, though. So I don't want to say that they're the only one. One of the main things that they do really well, though, is in the Freeletics application, you can download it and use it for free forever. There's a Freeletics community. You can see workouts you've completed. There's a map of places to work out in public. There's all kinds of materials about exercises, guides, diet, all these things that are incredibly helpful. The main difference is that if you want to get that AI coach, if you want to get all of the workouts and get that AI program with a schedule so that you can reach your goals, then you pay for Freeletics. What most people will realize is, okay, I have these workouts. I go in, I do some workouts every day. It's great, blah, blah, blah. But then what happens is they realize over time, I need a coach. I need somebody who's pushing me and I need a schedule. How do I get that schedule? And Freeletics offers that. They say, hey, why don't you sign up and get this 12-week schedule or this 6-month schedule? And they have these schedules with these coaches that change over time based on how you are completing your workouts, helping you kind of take that to the next level. Again, the application's free, but if you want to get that extra layer of value, then you'll need to pay. The reason that we really love this is because the app, your home screen on your phone, is incredibly important. It is a scarce resource, and it's not something that people trivially download apps and leave on their home screen forever. It doesn't work like that. If somebody doesn't like an app, they're going to delete it instantly. And if they've deleted it, it's really hard to get that person back. It's not as hard as a brand new user. They've used the application, they have some knowledge about it. Maybe they had a good experience, maybe they didn't. That's always tough to say. But what's really important here is that Freeletics stays on your home screen because they are not asking you to pay or not use the app, which means there's not really a reason to delete it. You can get value every day by having it on your home screen. And when you have it on your home screen, then eventually the idea is that you'll get enough value that you'll pay. So the payment is the upgrade in the experience. Okay. You get the complete product up front, not entirely complete. There are workouts and features that are gated. But if you want to add that full coach or you want to get optimized nutrition, then you do need to pay. And that's a great way to differentiate the two and kind of give two layers of value to users based on if they want to pay or not. Talking about the cadence framework, though, the two applications we started with here really talk about daily gamification. And it is incredibly powerful if you have an application that can build a daily habit. The reality is, not everyone can do that, though. It's just the reality of it. Not every application happens daily. Some of the ones that I think about a lot, travel applications. We don't travel or fly every single day, right? If you tried to make somebody use a travel app every single day, they would go crazy and they'd delete it off their phone. Women's menstrual cycle apps or other apps that are based off certain body timings, right? Those don't happen every single day. We have to pick the right framework and frequency for people to use the application so that we're not annoying the user or pushing them away by asking too much too frequently. One of the statistics that stands out to me here is that the correlation between user engagement and clinical outcomes is 0.16. That's 16%. What that means is so many applications today in the App Store are driving user engagement and not returning any benefits in return. Okay. It's saying that engagement is not actually tied with a real outcome for the users. Think about that for a second. If you are running a mental health app, if you are running a fitness application, whatever you are running or doing, if you are not returning benefits for the end users, that's not a product. That's not necessarily a great product. Okay. That is probably something that you are very good at selling, something potentially that you're very good at marketing. But that doesn't mean if you're not producing results for users, they are going to churn sooner or later. We have 7 decisions in order here as part of our framework. Okay. The first one is we want to look at the outcome. What is our target here for the user? What is the user trying to get out of this? Okay. Is it a better body, a better mental state? Is it some kind of cost savings in terms of their personal finances? What's the end goal that we can achieve with that user? Secondly, is the cadence. So understanding that goal, what's the cadence that somebody would go through to achieve it? Is it daily? Is it weekly, monthly? Annual is probably pretty hard in the mobile world. I wouldn't suggest trying to solve for that, but it could be. There could be some things that have extremely different cadences, and we have to pick what that right cadence is. Then we have the triggers. These are user event based cues. Okay. They can be time based as well. Okay. But these are the triggers that we know when this behavior is happening or this action is happening, and we want our application to be involved with the user as part of their life as they try to achieve these outcomes. Number 4 is commitment. We want the users to commit to making this change to get this outcome. We want the user to say to themselves, this outcome is valuable for me. So I am going to commit to showing up every day or on a set frequency in order to receive this outcome. 5 is reinforcement. We want to use gamification, leaderboards, rewards, challenges. Okay. We want to use all of those elements together to reinforce this process that the user is going to go through to achieve this. 6 is progress and identity. If you are using a workout application and you're using this app every day and you're not seeing any results and you don't become the person that you thought you were going to be when you were committing to this, you will churn. That's the reality of how most of these applications work, and the reality most of the apps in the App Store have is people don't get real results. We want to make this part of your identity, that you become this person who uses this application and that you are seeing progress, and we can track that and show it to you. For example, Duolingo uses levels. So there are levels in Duolingo to show you how far you've advanced through your fitness or through your language learning journey. There are levels in Freeletics to show you where you are on your fitness journey. Okay. Levels, you could track weight, you could track savings, whatever it is, you're trying to show somebody that they're getting value out of this. And lastly is recovery. Okay. There are down periods in every application and in every journey. Okay. There's that point where you feel like, I'm not picking this up as fast as I should be, or I'm not using this. Am I getting value? My whole body's sore. Should I really work out today? I'm just tired of showing up every single day. And you need to make sure that your application is engineered for that. So every app has these archetypes, okay? We have 7 archetypes here. We're not going to go through all of these on the call, but you can pick the archetype and then you can design your cadence that fits that strategic signal, okay? You'll see here, exposure, it's daily, okay? Reflection might be weekly, okay? Effort might be 3 to 5 times a week, okay? There's all of these different archetypes, but you have to pick one, and then you design your gamification, you design the application, you design the features and the experience around that frequency. We have 3 things that we focus on here, okay? First is match, don't optimize, okay? So maximize, sorry. First, match, don't maximize. Cadence is a design variable to fit a user's outcome, not a metric to push upwards. Okay. What we're trying to say here is, let's say you have, let's use our workout app as an example, and somebody's using it every single day. You shouldn't push for them to use it 5 times a day or 100 times a day. That's not going to be beneficial for you. Maybe somebody can go work out 3 times in one day for one day, but then the next day they can't do anything, and then they might hate your app and then leave, right? For example, you don't want to over engineer or maximize on your cadence. Okay. This is where daily active users is sometimes a terrible statistic or KPI, because if your users shouldn't use your app every day, why do you care how many daily active users there are? Number 2 is outcome over engagement. We want to focus on the user getting end results more than the frequency or amount of time the user spends in the application. To give you just two examples here of apps, and of course this is entirely theoretical, but if you had a fitness app where somebody spent an hour in the application every single day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and they didn't get any results, is that a better app than an app that somebody spends 20 minutes in once a week? Probably not. Assuming that the second app people actually get results, probably not. Now, most of us probably know and agree you're not going to get results in a fitness app 20 minutes once a week, obviously. But the point stands that we don't need to over maximize for cadence. We want to maximize for outcomes, right? Maximizing for engagement is a weak correlation to value. The third thing is We do not use dark patterns. We've seen where if it's more difficult to cancel an app, maybe less people cancel. But typically, overall, that'll lead to bad reviews. Bad reviews eventually will catch up with the app and give it a bad reputation, could even risk getting the application kicked out of the App Store. We don't want to use dark patterns. We want to really provide the users value. And for us, that's really important. It's one of the lines we don't cross in our development process. So, retention at the right cadence is a proxy for outcomes. Okay. Retention at the wrong cadence is a proxy for addiction. We don't really build social media apps like TikTok or Instagram. Of course, those are going to have different metrics. Normally, we're in the health and wellness space, and we're really committed to making sure that the applications we develop don't take advantage of users in that manner. We want users to get value out of the application because that's how you build enduring long term brands. I've already said this, but I want to just say a few of these that are really, really important to us where we do not over engineer things. The first one is predatory monetization. We try not to use things like pay to skip promotions or try to make the application significantly worse for free users so that they'll pay. We want free users to get value from the application, but to be encouraged to pay so that they can get more value, not so that they can skip a random countdown timer for no reason. The last one that we typically do not use and we do not recommend is manufactured social pressure. So we want to make sure that users don't feel guilted or pressured socially by an application, especially in the mental health space. It's just something to be really aware of that there are absolute downsides to this that some people don't consider. There's four things that we think everyone here can take away from this. The first one is stop maximizing for daily use. If your app does require daily use, then let's do it. But if it doesn't, let's not optimize for that. Let's pick the right cadence that users should be using your application, and let's design the application around that cadence. The second one is trade demos for real free tiers. Okay. Having a real free tier can be an incredible advantage for an application. Okay. You don't have to have going directly into a paywall, a 7-day free trial. If you can find ways to provide value to users, the free users are also a great way to grow an application. Some people really underestimate organic growth by actually just having users. For example, Freeletics is often shared online in social communities, in forums, and around the world because they have these free workouts that anyone can download the app and complete. If they threw everything behind a paywall, they would lose a significant majority of their users. Those users don't pay them, but those users do act as brand sponsors for free. Think about that. There is some value in that. Third, earn the commitment, then the reminder. We talked about this earlier. Asking users to commit and then sending them a reminder is going to be significantly more powerful than just sending the reminder. If you just send the reminder, the user is going to say, I don't really commit to this. I didn't sign up to use this every day, or I don't really care about the outcome. I'm not bought in. But if you have the commitment, then you send the reminder, the user is going to feel more reminded about the value that they originally came to the application for. Lastly, design for the trough, not just the peak. We talked about this before, but I want to bring it up again here. So many of our applications are designed for the good times. When the user is going through the application and everything feels great and they're leading the leaderboard and they've shown up every day and everything's been fantastic and they're on this great streak with all of these points, that is not the average user's experience every day. The average user's experience every day goes up one day, it goes down the next day, it goes up and down, and sometimes it stays down and sometimes it stays up. You need to design your application for both of these experiences. Otherwise, whenever a user goes down, they will leave the application or have a poor user experience. If you remember nothing else from this, okay, we've got kind of 5 things here to kind of bring us to a close. First one is engagement is the diagnostic, outcomes are the goal. We talked about this quite a bit, but the goal is here, use engagement as a metric, but don't push it. The goal is the outcomes. If you have amazing outcomes in your application is going to find amazing growth. The second one is the right cadence is matched to the user's outcome, not maximized. We want to make sure that users are getting the most value out of the application, not that they're spending the most amount of time possible in the application. The third one is a self-authored commitment is the upstream of every notification that works. If a user commits to using the application, when you send them that push notification, they are more likely to re-enter the application and complete the task that you originally set out for them. A free tier earns the home screen before payment is asked. Again, if you are asking users to download an app and then immediately hit them with a paywall, that is going to be a huge drop off. There are times when it works and times that you should do that. But if you can offer a free tier that gives users meaningful value, but also the opportunity to get more value if they upgrade, you would be surprised how many users will use the application and be encouraged to upgrade over time. A key point here, not everyone's going to get value in the first 7 days. If you're running on a 7-day free trial, there's a lot of users who won't see value during those 7 days. But if you give them a lifetime free trial, that free tier, the freemium, eventually a lot of those users will find reasons to upgrade. Number 5, recovery design beats streak punishment every time. Designing smart ways to save streaks and bring users back and not disappoint them or take them down is going to pay dividends in the long term for retention and for user growth. So it's your turn now. I want to thank everyone here for attending our webinar on gamification and how we build applications at Flywheel Studio. This was a great time for all of us. There's a few things that you can ask, and you can contact us about this as well. So, which archetype is my app? How do I run a cadence diagnostic on a live product? Or what's a good first metric to replace DAU, daily active users, and MAU, monthly active users? You can get in touch with us at eric@flywheel.so. That's my personal email address. You can reach out and I'd be happy to help you. Our website is flywheel.so. And if you mention Cadence Diagnostic, we'd be happy to send you the materials of this presentation so you have this for your own records. Thanks everyone for attending. We appreciate the time. And as always, if you have any questions, reach out to Flywheel Studio and we're happy to help.